First webinar we are doing on SoftCAAT. SoftCAAT, as you know, is a software which was started on 11th September 2001. So it means nearly 19 years since we started the development. In 2005, I sold it to Tally. I was working in Tally for about nearly 20 months. But I also gave them the knowledge repository of data analytics, and many of them were included in the Tally software. Tally discontinued selling SoftCAAT in 2008. And then I got back the rights of using SoftCAAT from them again. And I started development of the software again in September 2010. And when I started this development, I thought this is going to take 3 to 6 months. And now we can say that we have spent more than 10 months, 10 years. And we have really gone places as far as the data analytics is concerned. We have more than 15 software which is available, and we're trying to release them one by one. So what is important is it's important that our users should be ready to use the software. Okay, let's focus on what we want to achieve now. Learn2CAAT for effective assurance and compliance. This is the focus of our series. And we want to show you how you can do better compliance with data assurance using the software. This is a brief overview of me. I passed my CA in 1985 and the CISA in 1995. And I've been specializing in data analytics primarily. This is a vision and mission of a company. We focus primarily on being a leading solution provider in data analytics. I had a very good practice. I left it. Initially, I was in general practice. Then I was in IT audit. I left both. And then I decided to specialize in developing audit software solutions or BI solutions, primarily from the focus of CS. This is my focus. How we can develop system solutions for scaling up services for empowering CS so that they can serve their clients in a much shorter time, harnessing the power of technology. It's very important that in the current state, we know that we are having humongous amount of data which is available in digital format. And we should know how to use the required tools of the trade. And data analytics skills is one of the key skills. And data analytics tools is one of the most important tools as an auditor we should use. This is broadly the learning objectives. In fact, it's interesting to see that I went through some presentations just to look at SoftCAAT. Let me show you an article which I saw, and I was amazed that this article I wrote in 2005. This is on CAAT audit tool for the digital auditor. If you see here, audit IT, I put in caps. So here I was talking about what auditors can do. I think this article was also published in the CA journal. I talked about what is CAAT, why CAATs could be used, why use CAAT software, what are the functional capabilities of CAAT. Okay, primarily you can access different data. Now, if you see the difference between ECAAT, which is an add-in software, there are two types of series of data analytics software. One is add-in software, and second is independent software. SoftCAAT is an independent software, or data analytics software. I'm going to show you a quick demo of this a little later. So primarily, if it's a data independent software, then you should be able to access the files from different formats. That file may be in, let's say, Access, Excel, text format, whatever the type of format, I should be able to access the data. Not only that, I should be able to reorganize the file based on my requirement, which means I should be able to sort, merge, combine the file. I should be able to select the data based on what I want. And then I should be able to perform various statistical functions and also arithmetical functions. These are the primary capabilities of any data analytics software, which is an independent software. What will be the type of software which is available? How to use CAATS, this article. Okay, general use and application of CAATS, where it can be used. These are some examples, about 14 examples I gave, how this could be used. Okay, what are the strategies for using CAATS? And then we also talked about what are the precautions to be taken using CAATS. If you're interested, probably I'll share this article with you. Although, what is surprising is, although I wrote in 2005, more than 15 years, and when I read, I find that every part of it is still relevant, which means as auditors, we are still relevant. So what I wrote about auditing technology is still relevant. What I wrote in 2005 is still relevant in 2020. Probably some of the guidance notes, other things would have changed. I also gave interesting examples of how SoftCAAT can be used for various functional areas. For example, if you're doing creditors analysis or tax audit or financial audit, internal audit, purchases, I said specifically what type of analysis can be done and also what are the specific CAAT function which can be used. I'm trying to develop a separate online course which will cover specific functional areas of how you can use SoftCAAT and ECAAT for various purposes. where we'll have a standard checklist for each of this and say, this is how you can do the audit. For example, let's say if you're talking about aging. So what are the specific types of analysis or tests you can perform and what functions can be used? Quite often, just like in Excel, you see there are multiple functions you can use for the same analysis. We also gave highlights of the key functionalities of the audit software. Okay, let's go ahead. Now let's come back to our presentation. What is CAAT? CAATs are software tools for auditors to access, analyze, and interpret data. That's the primary purpose. And SoftCAAT is a software which facilitates this computer-assisted audit techniques. These are the benefits of using CAATs, which means using one software, you can access the data, whether the data is available in Tally, whether they're using a homegrown software or they're using SAP, any software, you have to get the data from them and you can do the analysis. Now, if you look at the benefits, one, you can import the data from various data file formats. You can use specific defined queries depending on what you want. You can specific, for example, you want to find out all cash payments above 20,000. You can query the data and extract this information. You can analyze the data based on your specific requirements. And you can also do automatic recording of all the audit activities. This is how you can use SoftCAAT, and these are the benefits. You find this tremendous amount of saving of time. Not only that, you can perform 100% audit of the transactions. These are the key features. The independent software, whether it's SoftCAAT or any other software, which is an independent data analytics software, it has the capability to directly read and access data from various database platforms, whether it is SQL or any other database platform. It can also analyze flat file system or ASCII format data, and you can perform mathematical computations, stratification, statistical analysis, sequence check, etc. I'll show you some examples as we go on. Now, broadly, you can say these are the functions which you can perform. You can access the files, as I said, what will be the format of the data. You can reorganize the data in the way you want. You can select the data based on what you want, and you can perform various statistical functions and also computation functions. For example, you want to compute whether the sales based on quantity and the rate, and to check the total amount and see whether the correct rate of tax is applied. The software is actually done it. You take the data independently and then you reperform the function to find out the conformance. How to use CAAT? This gives you the broad area. You do a preliminary review of the controls. What are the controls which are available? Assess the controls. Based on that, identify which are the controls you can rely on. And based on that, you design what are the type of tests you want to perform. Now, this is how you use SoftCAAT. This, in fact, incidentally, this slide I made in 2005. I just updated using the PowerPoint features. And the concept, this is what we said when I was in Tally, we were using this as a standard presentation. You see, you have this data, it may be in SAP, or it could be custom-based software, or it could be in Tally. Whatever format the data is available, I'll get it in an acceptable format. For what is acceptable format? For example, I am comfortable in, let's say, Excel or a database format. Whichever the software provides, I find out the format, get the data in the commonly accepted format, import the data into the SoftCAAT, and do the analysis. Now, these are examples, some of the CAAT functions or the data analytics functions, and most of it are available. Like I said, more than 100 plus functions are available in SoftCAAT. There are different users. Like I said, in ECAT, it could be the auditors, it could be fraud investigators, or it could be the management. Like I said, now this is not a presentation based on PowerPoint. That's why I'm going quickly, because I want to spend more time on the giving the demo of the functions rather than just walking through the concepts. So there's a systematic approach of how you can use CAATs. I'll share this presentation through our website. Now, this is what you said. Now, if you see here, you understand what are the IT resources we used, and most important is we identify what are the data available. What is the information architecture of the enterprise, which means where does the data originate? How does it flow? Who has got access to it? And that's what is important to understand. Now, this gives you some examples. Let's say if you're auditing the application controls pertaining to the sales cycle, and this could be the broad controls you will establish. And this gives you the financial statement assertions which you can verify. Not everything which is given here could be audited. The most fundamental principle is that the data should be available in a digital format. If the data is available, you understand the data, you understand the relevant controls of the data, and then you are ready to analyze the data. You get a copy of the data in the required format and do the analysis. For example, let's say Invoices are accurately calculated and recorded, which means you have from their system, you find there are totally 10,500 invoices which have been generated. You get export the data independently and get it, let's say in Excel. And that Excel data, you get into the data analytics software. And then you find out what is the number of the invoices, what are the sum of the invoices, what are the value. And you do a monthly analysis to check whether the total of the sales, which is shown in the software, it corresponds with what you find through the data analytics software. Application for the sales cycle, let's use some more examples. So let's look at some examples. Let's say I'm looking at all amounts for goods billed are accounted and processed to accounts receivable. If I want to check that, what are the financial statement assertion I'm checking for? I'm looking for completeness. What are the audit tests I perform? I classify the sales based on the customer code or the customer name and then check whether the sales matches. I can also match the sales with the debit to the accounts receivable. Now let me go to the demo. We had enough of talk. Let's come back to the demo and see what we have got to share. Okay, let me come back to my demo. This is the software. Yeah, I hope you're able to see the screen. Now it's loading. Now you should be able to see the screen here. This is the data analytics software called SoftCAAT. It's not released. I think probably we are going to release it next week. We're supposed to release it today. There are some more issues which need to be sorted out. And that's why we're planning to release it tomorrow. Let's see what's happening here. Now here, if you see the panels, let's see whether you can close this. Okay. Right, let's come back here. Let me close the presentation. I'll come back to this one. Yeah, so this, let's say if you're taking some case studies, this is pertaining to the case study for purchases. This could be the broad areas of or the audit tests you will perform. Let's say you want to look at the credit control policy, classification of suppliers, duplicate payments, payment terms, aging of creditors, discount policy, whether the authorization has been correctly done, invalid vendors, etc. So this is a case study of financial audit. Some examples. Similarly, this is a case study of an internal audit. These are just some sample examples. You can, depending on the audit objectives, you can build your own checklist. This just to give an idea that these are the different types of audit tests you can perform using data analytics software. For example, let's say the salary has been computed by their independent software. Now you want to do an independent analysis. You verify the computation, get the raw data, and then based on that, you recompute the salary and check whether the tax has been correctly computed. You can also recompute the PF and ESI applicable and the income tax applicable and check whether the amount has been correctly computed in the software. You can also look at the changes in the exemption and see whether it has been correctly reflected in the software. So what you do in the case of data analytics is you get the raw data and then do the analysis, applying the rules as applicable for the data. So these are the strategies for using the CAAT software. First, to be very clear about what are the specific objectives that should be addressed by the analysis. Define the period of the time for which you want the data. You get that particular data in the format in which you want. And to identify what is the type of analysis performed, why you're performing the analysis, and then you should know how to perform the analysis. These are the key concepts you want to take away. So the fundamental rule is any electronic information that is auditable is a potential candidate for applying CAATS or data analytics. Now, quite often, if you see this analogy here, this is how we use our computers. We got a computers, but the power probably we hardly use it to more than not even 10%. Which means, like I said long back, I used to say, most of us use computers as glorified typewriters. If you learn to use data analytics, you find you can put the computers to much more effective use. Now, if you were to summarize all that is discussed so far, any analysis you want to do, you set up the information criteria based on which you want to do analysis or evaluation. So it could be based on the valuation, validity, completeness, accuracy, authorization, occurrence, or compliance. And then what you use is the data analytics software. The data analytics software could be, like I told you, SoftCAAT, or it could be ECAAT, or it could be any software, or it could be the audit features available in the software itself, in that application software. For example, let's say Tally has got its own security and control features, you can use that. So what you analyze is you are using the digital data. You are analyzing the digital data using the digital tools. And what you should be able to get as the result of the analysis is the audit findings. And based on what you should be able to come to conclusion, do they provide assurance? So the bottom line is CAATS can help you scale new heights in a profession. And that's where we say we can move up the value chain and value add. Now the question is, are you ready to move from the ticks to the clicks? And that's where they say, wherever there's a mouse, there is a cat. This summarizes the discussion we had so far. Any data analytics you want to perform, you understand the business process controls, you understand the criteria based on which you want to evaluate, use the relevant tools and techniques so that you can analyze and report, and your focus on value addition. So bottom line is you should be able to do more in less time using the audit software. Now let me come back to the software. There seems to be some issues in the settings. Let's see whether you can figure it out. Okay. Okay, let me see if I can re-change the settings. Okay. We keep on learning in technology. In fact, before we started the presentation, I had actually checked everything. And now we find that we connected on Zoom, there are some issues. Let's see if we can enter this. Let's see where we are now. Yes, excellent. So I had increased the resolution so that it's visible better, but it looks like I think I need to rework on this. Okay, just to give you an overview, let me see if I can rechange this to 125. Anyhow, this is only the beginning of the webinars. I'm going to have a series of webinars. So I just want to give an idea and introduce you to SoftCAAT. Let's see whether you're able to see this. Yes, excellent. I think this is a little better. Let's see, we've got about 10-12 minutes. So let me see how quickly I can go through this and give you an idea. Now, you other data analytics software. And let's see how this data, so now for example, if you look at other computing software, like you've got ACL, IDEA, Arbutus, and there are various other software, this also run on the same basis. They are independent software. At the back end of the software is a database. For example, in case of SoftCAAT, this version, what I'm showing you, has got access to the back end. We have also got another version where you got SQL as the back end. Now, in the case of Excel access, you know that it can handle up to, let's say, 1 lakh to 5 lakh records it can handle. Beyond 5 lakhs, it could become a problem, especially in processing. Whereas SQL, there's no limitation as far as the processing of the sizing volume of the data is concerned. Okay, let me give you an analysis, quick walkthrough. Before that, let's close this, gentleman. Okay, now if you see here, this is what you got as SoftCAAT. Now here, if you see, just follow this particular this one. We said if you see here, we got the home. Okay, where you got the file. So what you do is you first create the audit, and then for the audit, you got the various audit tables. In this case, I have got the procurement data. The first thing I said, we need to profile the data. So it means I need to understand, get an idea about the statistics. In ECAT, we compute the statistics by using the column statistics. Here it's very simple. I just click on the statistics tab, and this should be able to compute and give me the statistics. So now if you see, at one click, I am able to get the complete statistics. Okay, not only that, now if I want to go to the date related statistics, I click on this, I get the date related statistics. Now I click on the character fields. Similarly, MIS. I can get the MIS, I can perform MIS dynamically. Let's say I want to find the MIS based on the amount. Now it is able to give me this one based on the amount. I can also get week wise, day wise. So it means we have built in what is called as dynamic analysis. With simple clicks, you should be able to get this information. I want to get the month wise analysis of MIS. Now I want quarter wise. Now I told you in ECAT there is a MIS function. Here you see you don't need to run this function. By default, we have built it as a single tab. I want to do year-wise analysis, I can get this information. Similarly, I want to get exceptions. You've got a function where you can perform the exceptions. Okay, now let's come back to the data. And let's see if we can perform some functions. Okay, our popular functions will perform. Before that, let's have a walkthrough of this. Any data analytics software, if you see primarily, it will focus whether you're looking Power BI or you're looking at ACL, SoftCAAT, or any software for that matter. Primarily, you should have feature for curating the data. which means you need to prepare the data for analysis. So in this, for example, curating the data, we have got this remove non-alphabetic characters, remove non-numeric characters, non-alphanumeric characters, remove spaces in the data. Like that, you've got multiple things you do to curate the data and get it ready for analysis. Okay, you can also convert, once you've done the analysis, you can also format the data in a standard format. Okay, after curating, you do what is called as profiling the data. In profiling, if you see, we got this function, you see, we saw the top last text functions. Now I have this top last text function. Now you see the look and feel of ECAT and SoftCAAT is similar. So what is that I want to find? I want to find out based on the material code. Okay, I want to find the top 10 items based on the amount. That's all. I just said 10. Okay, which means what I want to find is on the total procurement, I want to find the top 10 sales. Now this should be able to process. Now we see the look and feel of the SoftCAAT is also similar to what we got for ECAT. So it means if you already know ECAT, you should be able to use SoftCAAT also because most of the functions are similar. Now you see, you got the result. So this gives you the top 10 functions, top 10 sales based on the value. Now, can I get top 10 sales for the amount and for each group by, which means I want to group based on the, let's say, material name. Okay, material code. Now I've got this multiple material codes. Let's say I want to pick up, let's say, a few items, for example. So in this case, for each of these items, I should be able to get, let's say in this case, I want 10, which means I want top 10 for these 3 categories, or I can select all these categories. Now I can get the result in the result form which is showing, or I can also get the result in Excel. Now this is doing the computation. Now based on which I should be able to get the result. Now if you see here, I selected 3. For each of the 3 vendors or the material code, I'm getting the top 10 sales which happened. Let's say I'm using this for bank audit. I've got this list of all the loans. I would like to pick up the top 10 loans based on the value and the classification category. I can do that. So suppose I have got, let's say, the inventory. I want to pick up the inventory analysis based on the top 10 or top whatever number I want. I can pick up that, which means I can also do sampling using this, or I can also do business analysis using this. This is about the top last text. Let's come to stratify. Let's say numeric stratification. The process is very simple. What is that I want to stratify? I want to stratify on the amount. I pick up the amount here. Okay, now it actually puts this into different buckets. Let's say I want grouping based on 8,000 each. Okay, and then I say fill. And then I say okay. So what do I expect? I want the data stratified in these particular buckets. So if you see here, 50 to 8,050, 49, 8,050 to this one, I got the complete analysis. Now I see that 89% of the value seems to be between 50 to 8,049. Okay, I want to find these exceptions. What is only one item? I can double click. It will show me the specific record which is falling in that particular strata. See, I got this particular data. So you see the look and feel and the features. If you're already familiar with ECAT, you find that you can also use SoftCAAT. We have spent a lot of time to get this data. Not only that, you see here, you can do dynamic analysis based on right click here. Now let's come back to aging. 2 fields we can do. Let me do classify, what we did earlier. Now I'm going to do the classification based on, let's say, the vendor code, which means I want to know what is the total procurement we have done based on the quantity and the amount. Okay, simple. I've done based on this. I can also group it based on the material, material code, which means for each vendor, what material did we buy from each of them? Okay, I say okay, simple. So I should be able to get, in this case, what is the total procurement for each of the vendor with the count, the percentage, the sum, and the sum of the amount. Now you see, you can also get the same thing in pivot table. Now pivot table, you just imagine you have to get the same result, how much time it is going to take. So this is the beauty of the data analytics software. Now you want to extract based on this particular thing, you say extract. Now what is important is in pivot table, when you say extract, what you can also do is you can only double click and you can extract only one particular criteria. In this case, let's say I want to extract this particular data, all the values of this, which means I can do multiple extraction at one shot. Whereas on pivot table, for each of this criteria, I double click, it opens a separate worksheet. Now for, let's say, sampling, I want to pick up this data. All this data is put in one sheet and given to me. So you find compared to ECAAT, SoftCAAT also has similar features, but the important thing is you have to first import the data, and then once you got the data in the standard format, how do you import? You get the data in the standard format, whether it's Access or text format or a database format. Get the data in this particular format, and then you can import. Depending on the volume of the data, the processing speed, I think it's going to export the, it's going to provide the result. Now we have got the extracted results. So you see, for the specific things, I think we still not got the result. Okay, it's going to run multiple queries. That's why it's taking a little time. Okay, let me pause for a while and then ask if there are any questions. In fact, you are the first audience who's having a look at the software. I think I cancelled it, so it closed. Yeah. So in SoftCAAT also, we got the SoftCAAT Enterprise and SoftCAAT Pro. So like SoftCAAT Enterprise will have about 200 plus functions, and SoftCAAT Pro will have about 100 plus functions. Now I have this procurement data. Let's say I want to classify this data. Now I want to classify based on, let's say, the vendor name. I want to know how much did we buy from each of the vendors. Okay, now I should be able to get this value. For each of the vendors, how much did we buy? Now you see here, I got this complete information at one shot. So all the analysis, similarly, I want to do aging analysis. I can perform aging analysis. I can do a quadrant analysis. I can do a cumulative total. Like that, you got multiple things you can perform in this particular functions. Now let's come back to the next one. We got something called analysis. Now if you see here, we have this identify duplicates, unique and remove. You also have same different, same row. So you also have this outliers. Let's say I want to find outliers by mask. Based on a particular mask I can pick up. Let me perform the outliers based on the numbers. So I want to perform outliers based on, let's say, amount. Okay, group by material code. Okay, and I want 4 times the average. Let's see, I should be able to get these details. Now this should be able to give me all the outliers which are 4 times the average, which exceed more than 4 times the average. So there are about 2000 plus items. From all the 2000 plus items, you see I'm able to get this information. There are totally 328 items which actually meet this particular criteria. So if you see here, this also tells you what the number of times it is exceeded. Okay, so here if you see, similarly we have got the change sequence. For example, I want to, you remember we had this identity format. I can also select the identify format. I can also change the sequence. For example, I want to find the date sequence is correct or the numeric sequence. I can also compare. I can do fuzzy matching, which means I can, let's say name is given multiple ways. I can do a fuzzy matching and pick up that information. I can also sort ascending or descending. I can group the data, split the data. For example, I have the sales data. I would like to split this and get it as per the vendor. So in that case, it will create multiple sheets based on the vendors. Each of the vendors will be created as a separate sheet. Or let's say I got the GST data. I'd like to split it based on the month. This is the data, sales or the purchase data for the year. I'd like to split it based on, let's say, a group. I can split it based on the group or the month or any specific criteria. Similarly, you got explore. In explore, you got these various types of classifier, quadrant analysis, percentile analysis. You can do a pattern analysis. You can do a spectrum analysis. And you can also do, like I said, Pareto analysis, ABC, etc. Then you also have investigate functions, where you have the Benford law, trend analysis, list to find. All these are functions which are possible using SoftCAAT. Now in this next, I think, series of videos, we're going to cover each of them. This is another interesting function called as trend line, where you can also do a trend analysis for each of the type of the data. For example, let's say I want to perform a trend analysis for each of the material code and look at what is the value at which you bought. I can get for each of the items, I'll be able to get the value, what is the rate at which you bought. We can also perform. And this trend analysis can be based on specific criteria. I can do for outliers, I can do for ABC, etc. I can also relate, which means I can join two files. I can join and compute files based on a particular criteria. I can join, compute multiple, I can do a three-way matching. Now, if you see look and feel for most of the functions is similar. I select the first sheet, select the second sheet, identify the column on which I want to compare and do the analysis. I can also do sampling. If you look at the sampling, there are about 30 plus types of sampling which you can do. The basic principle we followed in the case of sampling is you do the analysis based on what you want, and then from that analysis, in that each of the category or the bucket, you can pick up specific number of samples based on random or percentage or based on the topics. You also got utilities. These are the utilities where you can split the columns, combine the columns. You can also extract based on specific data or email IDs or extract specific tables. Okay, you also have various types of analytical functions. Okay, these analytical functions like what you got in Excel, you can perform this function directly on this. And you also have various types of tools which are available. This is broadly what I want to cover. Now, these are the tools which are available. You can use whatever function has been done. You can see the audit log. Audit log will be enabled. There will be an audit table. You can also insert the comment for each of the tables. You also have the settings for the aging intervals. For specific things you want to do aging based on a specific criteria, you can set it by default, and then based on that, it will be followed for whenever you use the function. And you also got online help which is available for each of the functions. So what you do to summarize all the discussion we had. So in the case of data analytics software, first what you do is you import the data what you want. You create a new auditee. You open that particular auditee, and then you create the tables for each of the audit, which means you create a new audit. Let's say you're doing a tax audit, and then you import all the data and for the auditee under that audit. For the same auditee, let's say you perform multiple types of audit, you will put it here. So for example, I may have a sales audit, a tax audit, I may do a GST audit. All this will come separately. Like here, I have got financial audit. Okay, these are all the files I've collected for financial audit, and these are all the files I've got for the sales audit. Okay, I'll stop sharing now. If you've got any specific questions, I can take it. Do you have any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, I'll conclude the presentation. Let me see if I can share this presentation. Okay, please make the product affordable for SMBs. Okay, now the way we have done this product pricing is if you go to website, I think you'll be able to get an idea. We have kept the pricing in such a way that it is available, especially now I've given the pricing. I have to say that I'm a little, biased towards the CS. Let me share the screen and I'll show you, you're asking about pricing. Let me come to Google Chrome and let me open a website, and then I think you should be able to get an idea about the pricing as such. Yeah, let me go to our website. Now we have decided, I think we were getting a lot of information because we know our Indian psychologist kitna deti hai mileage. So we decided, okay, let's be very transparent with the pricing. So we decided to put all the pricing online. So this will give you at one glance, if you see here, you should be able to get the pricing for all the products. Okay, this for the enterprises and this for the India if you want to use only in India. Now for the enterprise, there's a price after 20% discount. For practicing CS, you got a 60% discount, and this for the ECAT. Okay, and this for ECAT and Pro and TCAT, E2Tally Soft, practice this one. Similarly, so in all the cases you find for practicing CS, we have got a substantial discount as of now. Not only that, you can also buy it online. Now, if it's a renewal, you see the price will be 50% of what you paid for the first year. Okay, this is how you can do. You can also buy it online. Okay, let me stop the sharing. Okay, any other questions? ECAT versus SoftCAAT, what is the difference? It's very simple. Like I said, ECAT is an add-in to MS Excel. Whereas